What's up, everybody? So, as I mentioned earlier today, this post is going to be something that will continue throughout this year and beyond. I am beginning to unbox a lot of what I have been personally dealing with, and across my entrepreneur journey of working with True Transit, I've encountered a lot more people that are struggling in similar ways, if not worse than I have been. And they have been the fuel that has kept me going with this pursuit. So I'll just jump right in and just get to it. All right, God, here we go. I'm listening. I'm terrified, but here we go. I'm not going to get into the big details of how True Transit came to life. My journey started in 2012. I'll go into that, I'm sure, many, many times, but not on this post. So I'll just say that this has been a very, very hard thing to bring to life while dealing with a lot of life lemons that happened and starting a family, and that was the spirit that this was birthed out of. And I officially relaunched it in 2018, and so this is now year 2 of the relaunch. And 2018, I pursued it 100%. I put all of my money into it, and I got a lot of positive feedback. I got a lot of good traction, a lot of interest from not just families, but schools and city officials and working professionals and, corporations that I presented True Transit to. Everyone really, really was responsive. So that was shocking in itself. And then reality hits, right? When you start a business as an entrepreneur, you put your all into it, and then you have to figure things out. I was off the island, as I say in my speaking. I stepped out on faith and I pushed myself off the island, and now I'm floating. I'm coasting, and I can't even see the shore. I can't see the land. So now that means that I'm all in. And so in 2019, everything changed from what I was doing in 2018. And so this time last year, many of you, personally, that know me, you've seen me moving around. I've talked to you in business, and nobody knew that this time last year, with my children, I didn't have a roof over my head. I didn't have transportation. I was classified as homeless. And at the same time, I'm trying to motivate people, motivate myself, raise my children. And I have these personal problems going on. And yeah, so 2019, I went back into corporate consulting. I'm a project manager professionally. And I am a contractor, so I had some contracts. And last year, this time, actually, maybe a week from now, it'll be 1 year officially. But in January last year, I started at the airport. So many of my airport friends and coworkers, they had no idea that I was homeless. I didn't have my own roof over my head. I was living with my dad. I had no transportation. All of the money that I was making was going to get my babies to school. I was paying $40 a day just to get them to school. That's not even to get me to work. And I was at work. Nobody knew. I didn't look like my story. I don't look like my story. And that's what people that are on the inside, that's part of my true tribe, this is what they've been wanting me to share. And my true tribe people, y'all, some of y'all have been with me since the very beginning. So you guys know what I'm talking about, and I'm thank you for your support, because I've been terrified to talk about this. I'm good now. I really, really am good now. But nobody knew in 2019. And that's why I'm doing this, is because last year, I really was serious when I said I wanted to quit. I really was dead serious when I said I wanted to quit. I'm very responsible. I put all of my money into this. And during this time where I had to go back into corporate contracting, and I'm working at the airport with the Department of Aviation, and still nobody knew what was going on. And every day I would come home, I would pay my fee, my rideshare fee, just to get me from the train station to the house, on top of the $40 to get my kids to school and back. And then I had to catch an Uber from the train station to the daycare, and then catch a Lyft or Uber from the daycare back home. So my numbers ain't even right with how much I was spending a day. Total, if I include me. It was 40 for the kids, definitely. For me, it was 20 a day. So what's that, 60 a day? 60 a day is what I was paying until I was able to get my car in May. So you do the math. And here's the other thing. While I'm doing all of these ride shares to get my kids to school, for me to get to work, I started to have conversations with these drivers, like I've done in the past, because that was research mode in the past. But this time it was different. And so, they're naturally asking, what do you do? And I'm talking to them about not just my corporate work, but my business. And I'm telling them about me. And I met so many people that are homeless, and you have no idea, because they don't look like it. And so I'm talking about not just the fact that there's a gap in being able to get to school and to work, but I'm talking about to help. There's a gap to get to help. And these drivers, I had drivers that would be picking me up in high-end SUVs, Mercedes Benzes, Jaguars, all of these high-end vehicles, and they're living in their cars. And every time, I promise to God, every single time I wanted to quit, I would encounter one of them or somebody that was in a struggle that either I was coming out of or I had already been through. And they were encouraging me and telling me, you got to keep this going. You got to keep doing this, because people are clueless. They have no idea. And what you're talking about and what you're doing, this is really, really serious. This is really, really needed. So in 2019, while I'm at the airport, I ended up talking to a coworker at the airport. And I just mentioned the blurb about True Transit and my dream and, what it is that I'm doing working with schools, because I was getting responses. I have schools that really do want True Transit for next year. And my issues with being able to just get the support from genuine people who really have connections. So anyway, fast forward. I end that contract. And now I move to my other contract, my next contract, which is NCR. And I meet a new group of people. And because my circumstances have improved, because now I have a roof over my head. Now I have transportation. So many of you saw me this year. 2019. You saw me throughout the year. I'm visiting and traveling and all of that stuff. Y'all had no idea. I was very, 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 very embarrassed. You do feel like you're a failure. I know that I'm not a failure. The blessing is that I was able to continue therapy through this process. So there are mental health tools that I've learned that I share with other people that are struggling silently in their own ways. And we don't talk about this. And I've been terrified to talk about this because it's personal. I get emotional, and it's very sensitive. But when I started working at NCR, I befriended many, many people that are now in my true tribe. And God knows what he's doing. He really, really does. He really, really does. And when I had that conversation with my friend in business, and he was just like, Chanel, you can't be in a black box. I've been dealing with rejection all of my life. Many, many of us have. That's part of life, right? We have life limits. But something happens along that road when you're dealing with trauma that you start to build barriers, right? Whether they're mental or they're physical, you start to build barriers. And I have done that in my own ways. I have dismantled those barriers, rebuilt them based off of situations that have happened. But one thing that remained consistent is I was terrified at not getting a yes.